Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me here. Hope your new year and new week is off to a great start. And appreciate you joining me again. If you will, as usual, I ask you to like, share, comment on the post. And then if you'd like, you can join me in the book of Acts, chapter 18. We're going to look at one verse today. And this may be not the most theology in this verse, but I do think there's a good, solid lesson for us here. Back up, we looked at verse 2 yesterday that told us that Paul has now met Aquila and Priscilla and has gone to see them. Verse 3 says, and because he was of the same trade, which we see here is tent makers, because they were the same trade, he stayed with them and worked, for they were tent makers by trade. Again, probably not going to be a lot of books written on this verse and a lot of theology going to come out of it, but more of maybe not much theology, but maybe a good lesson for us here. That Paul, while being the greatest missionary, greatest church planter, all those things that we think of about Paul, he was still involved in the trade. He continued obviously to work. That he was didn't normally have to work, but he would if he needed to, I guess is the way I want to say that. And we know that it won't be long before he's going to get some financial assistance delivered to him from the Philippian church. But in this verse, it does appear that while staying with his new friends, he did go and do some work as a tent maker. And again, I'm not really today pointing so much to the point of go get a job, but to the fact that Paul did what he needed to do. Whatever it took to get the gospel to people. If he needed to work, and no doubt I think if we read the New Testament and we see Paul's typical pattern. He was sharing the gospel with other people while he made the tents. He was sharing gospel with his co-workers. He was sharing the gospel with customers. Those kinds of things, and using the money that he would earn to continue to be able to preach. And so Paul knew that he needed to do whatever it took to reach people and get the gospel in front of them. And again, it just shows his hunger, his desire to see people know Christ. He realized that they were lost, and that there was no hope for them outside of the gospel. And as we know the Bible tells us, how will they hear without a preacher? And so Paul would go, and again he traveled and would go to wherever, even when he was persecuted for it. If he needed to work, whatever he needed to do, he would that was legal and moral. Paul was willing to go and do those things to share the gospel. And the question I would kind of put in front of us today is what would happen. What would be the difference in our world today, in our culture, in our society, if the Church of Jesus Christ today had the same, or even just a semblance of the same passion for people and for their souls that Paul demonstrated in his life. Something to think about today. How far are we willing to go? What are we willing to do? What price are we willing to pay to be able to carry the gospel and take the gospel to a lost and dying world? Think about that today, and we will see you here tomorrow morning.